Hi everyone. In this video we are going to be looking at how to find the difference using mental math. This is page 133 and 134 in your Jump Math book. We're going to be focusing on questions 1 through 4 only because the next section of that same lesson has a different process that we'll follow. So again, you can get your Jump Math books, turn to page 133 and we'll be looking at questions 1 through 4. Okay, everybody, let's get started. So I'm just going to erase this. Now, the topic we're talking about today is kind of exciting because it has to do with shopping. And often when you go shopping, you might see an item you like. Maybe it's a plastic flower at the dollar store. That's about the only thing I know how to draw really quickly. And it costs, let's see, 65 cents. That's pretty cheap. You don't have 65 cents in your pocket. What are you going to do? Well, you'll probably give a higher amount. So what if you pay with, say, 70 cents? Are these two numbers the same? No, they're not. You did not give exact change because exact change would be this amount. You gave a higher amount. What will you expect now? Well, you'll probably expect the cashier or the person who handles the money at a store to give you some money back. That is called the difference owed. I'll write that down. It's called the difference owed. And it also has another name. Do you know what it's called? Well, some people like to call it change. I want my change back. Okay, so this is what you'll often hear people refer to it. The difference owed is the difference between this number and this number. Okay, often called the difference owed, but more often called change. I want my change back. All right, now keeping this in mind, let's take a look at our differences here. I want to buy this flower. It cost 65 cents, but I paid 70. What is my change? Well, we're going to figure this out in our head. We're going to ask ourselves, can I count by 25 cents to get to this number? No. Can I count by 10 cents to get to this number? No. But can I count by 5 cents to get to this number? Yes, I can. So I'm going to put 65 cents in my head, and I'm going to count up to 70. So 65 is in my head, so I don't put my hand up. 70. Ooh, I counted by 5 one time. That means the difference between 65 and 70 cents is 5 cents. I guess I can just draw that here. The difference is 5 cents. All right, so 5 cents is the change. Okay, let's take a look at a few more examples of that. So again, we're talking about change or difference owed today. Okay, I'm going to write down a price of an item here. So I'll just put price. And then on the other, right underneath, I'm going to be putting amount paid. Underneath, I'm going to write change. Remember, this is the difference owed. The money that I want back is the difference owed. Let's say that I pay, there's an item that costs 75 cents. Let's say I don't have 75 cents exactly in my pocket, and I give 80 cents. What would be the change? Well, again, I need to figure out the difference between 75 cents and 80 cents. There's two ways to calculate the change, actually. I can count on from 75 cents. So from 75, what do you think we should count by to get to 80? Did you think 5 cents? Then you were correct. 75 cents is in my head. It's my starting point. I'm going to count by 5s. 75, 80. That's 1 nickel. Okay, so the change is 5 cents. I counted on in my head. Okay, but there's another thing that you can do. You can also think of it in terms of subtraction. 80 cents minus 75 cents. What is 80 minus 75? And I'll even write it down here so you can see it, but this would be done in your head when you're calculating your change at a store. What is 80 minus 75? Well, it's 5 cents, and there's your change. Okay, so let's take a look at another example. All right, what if you're paying for an item that costs 40 cents, you give 50 cents. All right, What will be your change? What is the difference owed? Remember, change means difference owed. I'm going to write that underneath so you don't forget. Okay. We need to find the difference between 40 cents and 50 cents, don't we? Because that will be the change that we get back. I wanted to buy a 40-cent apple. I paid 50 cents, so I probably gave 2 quarters. What will I expect my change to be? Well, again, we can do it in our heads by counting on. Put 40 cents in your head, count up to 50. Now, would you count in quarters, nickels, dimes, pennies? What would you use? If you said dimes, you were correct. I would count by tens to get the answer to this. Put 40 in your head and count on to 50. What did you get? Did you get 10? 10 cents? You only counted by tens once, didn't you? 40's in my head. I'm going to count up to 50. There's a hair floating around here. 40's in my head, and I'm going to count up to 50. Are you ready? 40, 50. I counted by 10 only one time. So I'm going to write that down. 10 cents. Okay, another way to have done this was what? What could I have done? Well, I can go 50 minus 40. So again, I could have done 50 minus 40 to get my answer. So number 1, you can count in your head. Put 40 in your head and count up to 50. Number 2, you can just do the subtraction. 50 take away 40, and that will give you your change or your difference owed. All right, let's take a look at another example, because you're going to be doing a few of these on page 133 in your Jump Math book. What if an item cost 95 cents? You paid it a loonie, okay, 100 cents, okay? Put my cent symbols in there. I want to know the difference between 95 and 100. Again, put 95 in your head and count up to 100. What did you get? Did you get 5 cents? What did you count by? 1s, 5s, 10s, 25s. You counted by 5s to get that answer. So the change is 5 cents. The cashier would have to give you 5 cents back because you overpaid. All right? Again, you could have gone 100 minus 95. You would have gotten the same answer. Okay, so there's 2 ways to get those answers. All right, you know what? If the numbers are a little bit higher. Okay, I'm going to follow the same process. What if the price of an item was 30 cents? And again, I paid with a loonie, okay? 30 cents was the cost. I had a loonie in my pocket, so I threw it down on the counter and said, here you go. How much will I get back? Well, to figure out this one, what am I going to count by? I'm going to count by tens. Now I'm going to show you the process of counting by tens, but this would take place in your head. 30 would be my starting point. I don't say it as I'm skip counting, but it's my starting point. So I have to count on how many times to get to 100? 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. How many times did I count by 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I counted by 10 7 times. What is 10 times 7? Did you get 70 cents? So your change back would be 70 cents. Okay, the difference between 30 cents and 100 cents is 70 cents. I counted by tens. I showed it to you on here, but you would do this in your head. And I counted on to get my answer. What's another way that I could have done it? Well, I could have subtracted. 100 take away 30 equals what? 70 cents. A quick mental math way to do this is to think 10 take away 3 is 7. And then I just add a 0 to the end. Okay, that's my mental math way of thinking about it. All right? Okay, so this is related to question number 2 in your Jump Math book, and in fact question number 3 as well. Okay, so what if I had another one, like something cost 40 cents, and again I paid with a loonie? Okay, what are you going to do to calculate the change? I want you to think about it. Did you say that you would count on by 10? That would be perfectly fine. Did you say that you would subtract 100 minus 40? Both ways are correct. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I'm going to count on. 40 is in my head. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. How many times did I count by 10? 6. So that means the change is 60 cents. That's the difference owed, okay, is my change. All right, let's look at one more example, and then I think I'm going to let you go at it. Okay, what if an item cost 80 cents, but of course I overpaid because I don't have exact change? I give a loonie, that's 100 cents. What is my change? Well, again, 2 ways to figure it out. I can put 80 in my head and count on. And in this case, what would you count by? Did you say tens? You're correct. Count by tens till you get to 100. Or, of course, you could do 100, take away 80 cents. So I'm going to count on, because I like to do that in my head. 80's in my head, 90, 100. I counted by 10 2 times. 10, 20. My change is 20 cents. Okay? So boys and girls, your job is going to be to do pages 133. I'll write that down for you at the end here. So you're going to do pages 133 to 134. However, you're only doing numbers 1 to 4, okay? Because then we're going to talk about a different process the next day. All right? That's your job. Have a great day.